Welcome to the Ghost N.E.A.R Show. I'm your host, Keith Johnson. Please join me for highlights from the 2024 Warren Seekers of the Supernatural Convention, held in historic Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and organized by NESPR's Tony Spera and Dan Rivera.
Carl Johnson.
That's Keith.
Keith Johnson is a legend in the paranormal field. He's been in this field for quite a long time, very knowledgeable, and he's still doing this work today, helping families, dealing with hauntings, and also I had the privilege with investigating and helping Keith Johnson on a couple of cases. And it was an honor that he would ask me to help him on the case. So thank you, Keith. And we also have Dave Juliano from the Ghost Hunter store and Seen on TV. Somebody out there knows Dave. We have Father Bob Bailey. Father Bob Bailey is a Roman Catholic priest and also was on Paranormal State and worked closely with Ryan Buell on cases. Father Bob, say hi. We have Rob, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly, Sakowitz from Get Haunted. We work closely with Get Haunted. Rob's an Army vet, just like me, and we work great together, and we have each other's backs. He's a great guy. Also, he's our host to our podcast, so the Get Haunted Network. We really appreciate Rob. Also, we have Sarah Blaney from Get Haunted. She's also one of the co-owners of Get Haunted, Paranormally Blonde. Also, Sarah, you're great. We love you. We got Jason McLeod, author, also a paranormal investigator that worked on some cases with Ed and Lorraine Warren. He's here tonight. Mike Castro, another Army vet that we work closely with. He is part owner of Ghosted Magazine, and he is responsible for making all these banners that you see around the convention center. So if you're looking for banners, go check out Mike. Then we have Christina Rowland from Ghostly Images from Gettysburg Tours. Christina was a great help promoting our Paracon down here in Gettysburg. So another big applaud for Christina. Then we have Thomas D'Amico, also from Ghostly Images of Gettysburg Tours. What is it? Demko, Thomas Demko. He's a big TikToker, all right? Mostly all his views comes when he's walking to the bar. I don't know why, but he gets a lot of views. But he's also a big help to us and promoting us down here in Gettysburg. So big thank you to Tom, all right? Yeah, that's all I have for now until later on. So thank you for listening to me and standing there. And, weird story about that email down. And you heard about car accidents and everything. Well, my son got into a car accident the day we were packing up that down. It was a head-on collision, and my son wasn't able to make it here today. He's okay, he's a little bruised up, but the last thing he remembered before that accident was that they were excited. They were talking about N.E.A.R and moving the museum down here at Gettysburg. And he really wanted to come down here. So, saying that, these are haunted items, please respect them, okay? Because they're not going to respect you if you challenge these items. And this is what we're going to do for all our lives and collect these items, and this is what we continue doing today. So we just ask you to respect these items in this museum. All right? Everybody have a good time and enjoy your weekend.
I'm Russell Reynolds Jr. I'm a cousin of Ed and Lorraine Warren to the Briggs family and related to John Zaffis, Chris McKinnell, Tony Spera, Judy Warren Spera. that's Russell Reynolds Sr. That's how we're related through his bloodline of the Reynolds. Our great-grandfather, Caleb Reynolds, is related to the Briggs family. They married into ours. And Briggs is related to Ed's side of the family, so that's how our connection and bloodline begins with the Warrens.
You're also related to Lizzie Borden.
And we're related to Lizzie Borden, Boris Karloff, and Vincent Price. And now we just found out we're related to the Johnsons.
That's wonderful. We should have a big family reunion.
Definitely.
We will.
We need to.
Now you can get your brother.
Yes.
I'm nobody. I'm just somebody's sister.
What? You're totally signing the sunglasses that are in my car.
Yeah, let her have the
Oh, you're
sunglasses.
signing them.
Hello.
Beautiful, beautiful people here.
Hello.
Wonderful,
Hi,
wonderful. Always good to see you. It's such a pleasure.
Keith. Such a pleasure is right.
God bless you all.
And same to you, Keith.
We're here as one big happy family.
It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood.
Hi.
Hello there.
Get in there.
Of course.
Okay, guys.
Bye, Rick. See you soon.
Hey, we'll see you.
All right.
Take care, drive safe, and we'll see you at the next one.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
God bless.
Everybody knows Ryan Buell from Paranormal State. Ryan's been around for a long time with us, and good friend, and has been to all of our Paracons pretty much. And you know, we got Tony Spera, son-in-law of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Thank you. And it's probably the first time I've been sober, so I just want to let you know.
Then we have Keith Johnson here.
Keith.
He worked with the Warrens a very long time ago. You remember the Conjuring movie, right? The Conjuring story. Keith and his brother were one of the first investigators at that location. And Keith is a demonologist and a very good friend of ours. And we have the pleasure that Keith calls upon us to help out on some of his cases, and it's an honor for us. And then we have Jason McLeod. author, and also an investigator with the Warrens when? Back in the 90s?
1990.
And then we have Dave Juliano, demonologist, and owns, what store do you own, Steve? I mean, geez.
I'll answer that too. The Ghost Hunter store.
The Ghost Hunter store.
Ghost Hunter store.
What we're going to do is, Tony, you know, you guys want to talk about life with the Warrens, and then you can pass it along to everybody else.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming tonight. Really, we really appreciate all the support that we've gotten. But I have been involved in the Warrens' life since 1979. I know I don't look that old. I was an embryo when I met him, but I am old. But I met him in '79 when I was a police officer, and I met Judy first. I'll just make a quick story. I met her first. I started to date her, and then about 3 or 4 weeks into my dating with her, she said, "Do you want to go see my parents lecture at UConn, University of Connecticut?" I looked at her and I said, "Oh, you mean they're college professors?" She laughed. She said, no, they're not college. They're lecturing at Jorgensen Auditorium. They're ghost hunters. She didn't say ghost hunters. They're psychic researchers. So I said, I'd love to go see it. I mean, I never heard of that before. She said, you never heard of the Warrens? I said, I don't know. I don't think so. So I went and met them at Jorgensen, and ever since that moment that I saw that first lecture, I was enthralled to see the things that Ed Warren talked about and Lorraine Warren, about demonic possession, about ghosts, about life after death, about the spirit realm. And so when I saw that, and we went for pizza afterwards, I was picking Ed's brain. We found a place in Storrs, Connecticut. Now, if you know Storrs, it's like really rural. Back in '79, there's nothing open except this pizza place we found at 10:30 at night open. And I was picking Ed's brain, and there was a guy with him when we met him at the place. There was a young man with him writing on a legal pad. And I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything. And as I'm talking to Ed, this guy interrupts and says, Ed, can I ask you about something about Amityville? And he turns and looks at the guy and he goes, Gerald, you're a real pain in the ass. I'm trying to have pizza. And I felt bad for the guy. The guy was Gerald Brittle, who wrote The Demonologist. That's who he was. That book is the book you want to read. Anyway, to fast forward, I was going to their lectures, listening to them, setting up their equipment, playing the slide projector, setting up the PA. And then a couple times after about a year or two, Ed says, go up and say a few words about that slide. Ed, I'm not going to go up there. Get up there and talk about the slide. You know all about it. I start talking about the slides. And I said, listen closely to their Q&A. That's where you learn. Because people would come out with some wild questions, and Ed always had an answer. And then finally, maybe 5 years into it, I said, Ed, can I go on some cases with you? Yeah, kid, I think you're ready. You can come with us. So he let me come on cases. That's how I got involved in the paranormal realm, by meeting Judy, then meeting them. And I can tell you this, that Ed was dedicated 110% to the paranormal. No one in this room could compare to Ed Warren as far as his interest and as far as his knowledge of the paranormal. I used to go over his house, and I remember he was a paranormal investigator since like the 50s, right? I'd go over his house in 1980-something. Where's Ed? I'd say to Lorraine, he's off the museum, he's in his office. I walk in there, he's reading a book on the paranormal. Always studying the paranormal realm, always wanted to know more. Because he lived in a haunted house from age 5 to 12 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And when he joined the Navy at age 17 in 1943, he said to Lorraine, who he had just met about a year earlier, he said, when I get out of the Navy, Lorraine, I'm going to find out if anybody else had haunting phenomena happen to them like happened to me. That's how he started. He wanted to know more about what happened to him as a child. That's how he got involved. So my life with them was very intriguing, very interesting, and you're always learning. And anyone who tells you that they know all about the paranormal realm, walk away, because they're full of shit. Because Ed told me, he said, nobody knows all about the paranormal, not even me. And he said, we're not meant to know everything. He said, that's the mystery of the universe. God doesn't want us to know everything right now. We'll know the answers when we die, when our spirit goes and is with God. Then you'll start to know more. You'll start to learn a lot more. But until then, we still have a lot to learn, gradually chipping away at the paranormal realm, the paranormal phenomena, and what it really means. How many people here in the audience tonight believe that there are such things as ghosts or spirits? I was going to say, if you don't, you better leave, because what you're doing at a paranormal convention, you know what I mean? But there is such thing as ghosts and devils. And anybody tells you there's no such thing as a devil, they don't know what they're talking about. And we can go into that here. But I'm not going to keep talking about it because we've got a lot of guests here, so I'm going to put on one of our favorite people, one of Lorraine's favorite people. Lorraine loved Ryan like her son. Why? Why does she love Ryan so much like a son? You know why? Because Ryan is a genuine human being. There are a lot of phony people out there who want to put on a front, want to impress. But Ryan wanted to learn, and he wanted to know about paranormal phenomena and what it really meant, and he got to know Lorraine very well. And she knows a good person when she sees him. She used to tell me in an audience when we were somewhere, she'd say, that guy there is trouble. I go, what do you mean? He's just a troublemaker. Or that guy there, you know, he must be he's either a deacon or a priest. So I'd ask the guy during the Q&A, and sure enough, she was right. He was either involved in religion or he was a priest. So she used to be able to tell by the aura. So when she saw Ryan's aura, she knew immediately Ryan was the good one. He's a good person. So I think of all the paranormal people, he was her favorite.
Babe Ruth.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we have another gentleman who knew Ed and Lorraine very well, very well. He and his brother Carl. I want to introduce you to demonologist Keith Johnson, and he was instrumental in the 1971 or 73 Harrisville case, Harrisville, Rhode Island. So here he is, Keith Johnson.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much. And I mean, we could be here for hours if I had to say just my personal memories of Ed and Lorraine and everybody else's, but none of us would be here today honoring them and their memory and the work they did, often with no thanks, sometimes being scorned and laughed at, sometimes not given the credit for what they did. And of course, they did become very well known, but that was a hard, rocky road that they went through before then. And we owe them such a debt of gratitude. And as Tony mentioned, my brother and I were two of the first investigators. We were in a group at Rhode Island College called PIRO, Parapsychology Investigation and Research Organization. And since there was no internet back then, I just put a little ad in the paper and a local periodical that we investigate. We're a parapsychology club. We investigate free of charge. I thought it might be ignored or laughed at. 3 weeks later, our team leader, Donna Eisenstadt, received a call from Carolyn Perrin in Harrisville, Rhode Island, saying she'd moved into an 18th century home built in 1736. She was very, very afraid for not just herself, but her husband and her 5 daughters. Would we please come to investigate? And so we did. And anyone who says the Conjuring House is not haunted, they weren't with us in that night back then. Because you have to remember, at that time, that house was not famous. Nobody knew about it except the family there who had purchased it. And something about the history of it, of course, but also, I think, the 5 daughters of various ages living there. I became very good friends that night with Andrea Perrin, and Carl and I had met Ed and Lorraine at a lecture at Rhode Island College, and our lives would never be the same again after that. And it was just, what a whirlwind it was, especially at the beginning. We came to that house in Harrisville, Rhode Island. My brother had experiences, Donna had experiences, but I was upstairs. I didn't look like I do now. I had very long hair, and I was very slim, and I was like the hippie type. But the girls loved that, so they took me by the wrist, and they took me all over the house and all over the yards, all over the bridge, which my brother a couple of years ago wound up falling through, so they finally did repair it, the little bridge there in the property. He wasn't injured. But they took me upstairs, and then they became very serious. They told me how frightened they were. Not of the spirit that kissed them goodnight, not of the nice spirits, but one spirit in particular, which I personally still consider the gatekeeper of that house. And that spirit was torturing their mother, literally torturing her, targeting her, and affecting the children in very negative ways. And I could just feel that energy building, negative energy building and building. I knew it wasn't my imagination at that point. And I asked them, do you have any religious beliefs? And they said, yes, we're a Catholic. And I said, well, when you get scared, try calling upon the name of Jesus. Now, there in that room, there was a window that could not be closed because the wood was so old, it had swelled with the August humidity. As soon as I said the name of Jesus, that window came slamming down. I felt something tugging on me, really pulling me from my diaphragm, the inside out. It was like an electric charge, but polar opposite. One of the Perrin girls screamed, her head went to the side. She was slapped on the left side of her head, which is indicative of an inhuman spirit going counterclockwise. But I realized I was the only adult up there. I was 18 years old, and I had to keep my cool, so I told them, just pray to Jesus. It is afraid of Jesus. It is very afraid of Jesus. After I'd said the name of Jesus 3 times, it left. It just left the room. Everybody looked up and said, it's gone. It's gone. So you realize when spoken in faith, there is power in that name. And it didn't leave the house. Carolyn, later that week, was very upset by an apparition that appeared in her house. Technically, it wasn't an apparition because she didn't really know. She suspected she did, but she didn't really know who it was. But it was kind of like an old hag wearing a gray dress with her head partially severed and laying on the shoulder. And she woke up to that at 5:15 in the morning, and it started saying a witch's chant, which I'll not repeat here, but it started saying really, this was a satanic verse. So Carolyn called us up. Donna answered the phone, and Carolyn said how frightened she was, how truly frightened, and she didn't know what to do next. Donna said, well, we have friends that have been doing this for decades, and they've been all over the world. Their names are Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'm going to call them up and ask their advice what our next step should be as soon as I get off the phone with you. She called them up. Lorraine answered. She told them everything that was happening. And Lorraine and Ed said, we're going to do more than advise you. We're going to come down there and personally assist you in that case, which they did. So that was a blessing to the family. The family really welcomed them in, and things changed a lot then. And some of the things, but like Tony said, I highly recommend you read The Demonologist by Gerald Brittle. There is a scene in that book where, and this is not fiction, this is not Hollywood, this is true, what it's like to be alone in a demonically infested house, and you have no family in there. Family can't get in, they have no access, the doors won't open, and you're being scratched, your clothes are being torn, there are no other investigators with you, you're there by yourself. Ed had that experience more than once. So really, their experiences, they were just so invaluable. Can hardly begin to describe. But I'm glad for the fact that we can network with so many people. I see people out here who I've worked with and continue to. I see Tammy out there in West Virginia. In Virginia, she covers cases there, and so many others. So I want to thank you all for being here today. We honor the memory of Ed and Lorraine.